Hello, hello. Today I want to talk about dreaming and harnessing the power of dreaming to obviously transform your life and your communities, potentially. No promises here. I just give you the notations and then you work with it however it best suits you. So obviously there's many states of dreaming. Science will tell you that. Original peoples around the world will tell you that. And I'm sure many religions and whatnot will too. I'm residing in the land of Australia, otherwise known as, I guess, Amaroo, and many other names. And they have their own stories around dreaming. I'm not going to be sharing that within this vlog. I do not feel it's my place to in this vlog. That could be something that gets shared at another time. So I'm going to focus a lot more on lucid dreaming in this vlog. I won't be going into things like astral travel, just because it can potentially be dangerous depending on your perspective. And I don't really want to sort of perpetuate that. That's kind of, I guess, teachings that I would feel more comfortable traveling into in a more of a contained space. And as I'm sure you're aware, YouTube is not necessarily a very contained space. So, moving on. So I've been lucid dreaming since I was a young girl, within this lifetime obviously, and I go through phases at different points within my life. There could be more lucid dreaming. Sometimes I could go years with no lucid dreaming. I'm not attached to some sort of outcome within my dream space, so I don't have any sort of feeling around whether I have a lucid dream or I don't for a long time. But just to put it bluntly, and I guess as simply as possible, just in case if you're not quite sure what lucid dreaming is, when I'm talking about lucid dreaming, I'm talking more about in the context of you're dreaming and you're actually aware that you are dreaming while you're within that dream space. And obviously, dreaming and lucid dreaming in particular can be very useful for, I guess, your manifesting or magnetism, whatever you want to call it, and things like timelines and working through problems, and more obviously, there's so many other aspects to it than just those. And if you can recall them when you're no longer sleeping. Now, that's not to say that you can obviously have experiences in your dream time that don't have an effect within your waking time. However, it could be more, I don't want to say more beneficial, but could have more of an impact on your life, even just your day-to-day life, if you can actually recall what you were dreaming in your dream space. Now, obviously, there's a lot of techniques that you can use to induce lucid dreaming if you're not very rehearsed or, you've never experienced a lucid dream. It's something that doesn't seem to come to you very naturally. I'm not going to teach you those sort of techniques here. There's a place called the World Wide Web, apparently, where you can find all sorts of information. I'm being sarcastic here if you haven't picked that up. And you can go and find what techniques suit you for lucid dreaming and bringing that into your dream space. And I'm sure you're aware there's a lot in our supposed external environment that can interfere with our dream space, technology obviously being one of them. And so it may pay to have a little bit of an investigation of the technology that you have within your home, within your bedroom, and see whether there's anything that you might need to change with that technology when you're sleeping. Well, obviously prior to you going to sleep, just to make sure that your dream space is less interfered with as possible. Also, obviously, if you're living in an urban environment, suburban environment, a city environment, where you actually reside quite closely to many others, even just in a home where you obviously share it with others, that's going to interfere your dream space as well. You know, I'm sure there's many different types of technologies, certain meditations, intentions that you can set to help kind of seal your dream space off, so that the experiences are more pure and more personalized to you and not influenced by, I guess, the supposed others. You know, that could help obviously as well. And I guess the main reason I'm sharing this is to remind you that lucid dreaming work can be a potential avenue for trauma work. And I mean, everyone has their own kind of definition of trauma. If your definition of trauma is, I guess, very horrific violence of all sorts of kinds, yes, obviously that can be trauma. But trauma can also be things that people may consider are not very important or not very impactful. However, that can occur sort of over and over and over again, and it can create itself into quite a bit of a problem. You know, nothing's really bad or good in a sense, but if you're finding that there's certain things that are making you quite constrictive in how you engage in the world and with yourself, then, you know, that's an opportunity to look at, I guess, your supposed traumas. And I guess the thing with the lucid dreaming is that obviously with you setting the intention of the lucid dream, you're creating the sacred space for your dreaming, you can then potentially go back and, I guess someone would say, relive the trauma through the lucid dreaming space. However, it's not necessarily about control, but however you can then influence the dream in the story of trauma in the dream space and transform it, I guess is what I could say. You know, if we can relive our fears, you know, fear being one emotion or one example, in the dream space, in the lucid dream space, then there's a potential that it will not be as big of a issue within your waking life. You know, waking, dreaming, I mean, that's a bit of a multidimensional, there's multidimensional perspectives of what is actually waking and what is dreaming. I won't be going into that here. I'm just going to put it in the very nice, clean-cut, whitewashed, modern mainstream box of, while you're watching this is the waking space, and when you go to your bed and you close your eyes, that's the dreaming space. Just to put some clarity there on that. But also, if you're not aware that that actually can be seen differently in other, I guess, geographical locations and original peoples, and be in potential religious and spiritual practices, well, now you do. So, you know, and obviously with you setting these intentions to maybe relive these sort of traumas, you know, often people would probably say, why would you want to go and relive a trauma? Like, I don't really want that to be coming back in my life. You know, obviously I understand that perspective. However, there are also some schools of thought or schools of understanding that describe how if you are not able to transform a trauma and you just suppress it, it can actually, I guess, it's that sort of saying of what you resist persists. So it can grow into a much larger issue than if you were able to actually transform the story, transform the trauma, transform the belief. And the lucid dreaming space, you know, it's a little bit like kind of a self-therapy, right? You're aware of what's going on. This fear is coming up, this situation or whatever it is. And as I said before, you can transform and alter how you're interacting with it. You're able to see that, oh, maybe I've actually exacerbated this fear beyond what it really needs to be. What is this really trying to show me? How can I transform my story with this so that when it comes up again in my waking life, and I can guarantee it will in some shape or form, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, you may start to find that you're actually participating in that experience differently. Maybe the feeling of, we'll go back to the example of fear, is actually no longer being stored in the body. It's being moved through quite quickly. And I'm sure some of you may be aware, when you're not dealing with the emotions right, you're not transforming them, you're resisting them, and they store themselves in the body, that's where disease and illness can start to occur. And that's not to say that just because you've got disease and illness that you're some unhealed, traumatized person. I'm not trying to say that as well. That's a whole other vlog that would need to dive into to go a little bit deeper with that. So yes, the last thing I just want to mention is obviously, you've got your intention, you've got creating the sacred space, but there's also the recall techniques too. So you might want to look into what kind of recall techniques you might need to use if you're not very good at recalling your dream space. Now, I also am aware there's certain things that one may consume which can make it quite hard to recall dreams. I've had a number of partners in the past when I was younger who would use certain substances quite recreationally, but I guess maybe more of an addiction sort of context, which would actually quite be pretty much would cut them off from their dream space of remembering any kind of dreams that they ever had. And then you'd go through the phase of, assisting them with letting go of that addiction and working through those issues there. And then the dream space would come back very, very full on after a number of years of being cut off from being able to recall that. So, yes, so there's things that you may be doing which may impact on your ability to recall dreams, not just in regards to intention, ritual, but also things that you may be consuming. So good idea to have a look at that to make sure that you are not consuming certain things that will inhibit that. And if you are, then that's really up to you how you want to navigate that situation. So, yeah, and I guess the point of the recall was to help you with the further integration. We can't really stress enough about how important integration is. When you're getting certain messages through whatever experiences that may be, if you're not integrating what it is that you've been given, it's like sometimes you might read a book and it's written in a language or a style of writing that is sometimes maybe a little bit difficult, and you're like, well, I just need to reread through that page again, or reread through the paragraph, or read the book 9 times, and then it's like, oh, okay, now I kind of get it. But then also the information you've been given, you may then actually have to live that through your actual waking life, through your experiences of your life, to then actually also be able to integrate that information you've been given from the book even further, right? That becomes more of the embodiment, and integration is part of that process. So that's my sharing on lucid dreaming, about harnessing the power of the dream space in this moment, in this time. And I'm going to leave it here, and I will see you in the next vlog.